I could still hear my neighbor walking on the floor or having sex. But my colleague told me that they went to a sauna together, even to a German. This is still too intimate for colleagues. The first thing you have to learn is Zug fährt aus. It really sucks when I just came to Germany when I was experiencing homesick and I couldn't call my friends or my family. Hello, this is Cloris. How are you doing? In this video, I'm gonna share 10 things I still find challenging after living here for almost 7 years. The first shocking thing is the train delays. It's just super common here in Germany. Before moving to Germany, I thought Germans are quite efficient and very on time, but after moving here, I realized there are quite a lot of exceptions, especially when it comes to the trains. No matter it's S-Bahn, U-Bahn, or regional train, or ICE, the express train, delays are just really common, which is way more than I've ever expected. Because in Hong Kong, I rarely experience this. All the flights, trains, and buses, they can all go on strike. It can sometimes drive me nuts. The first thing you have to learn is Zug fährt aus, so that means train cancelled. So make sure when you look at the announcement, you know what that means. Sometimes it doesn't have English version, so you have to really read the German. Train cancelled, Zug fährt aus is the first German word you should have learned. You might ask why they are always delayed. From my experience, the most common issue is technical problem and then also police inspection. You know what? The most mind-blowing one was the driver needs to take a nap. So it was delayed for like 20 minutes. In addition to the delays, there are also a lot of constructions going on in Germany, no matter it's the road construction, train station constructions. When you're traveling around Germany, make sure you check the DB app, or if you're in Munich, make sure you check the MVV app so that you can see whether there are any constructions along the way. Google Map is not always reliable when it comes to those constructions or delays, so make sure you are keeping your eye on the apps. Lufthansa can also go on strike sometimes, but it's not as frequent as the French people. Therefore, I always prepare enough time for the transit, and also I would go out earlier. Before you go out, don't forget to check your DB app to see whether your trains would get delayed or not. And the other thing you can do is to plan alternative routes. If you cannot go there by U-Bahn, can you take the bus? Is there another route to the train station or something like that? To make sure you always have the plan B. After living here for many years, I became more patient. If I'm not rushing for an appointment or an event, then I would be chilled and just wait for the train. If I have a flight at noon or early morning, then I would make sure that I'm already near the airport or stay over the night before to make sure that my journey wouldn't be interrupted by any other train delays or bus delay. I remember one friend came to Göttingen from Lausanne, Switzerland, for a Christmas gathering. However, his train got delayed, so the 7 hours of train ride turned into 10 hours. I remember he said that in Switzerland, they also arrange another platform which is a bit far away for Deutsche Bahn because they don't want the Deutsche Bahn to interrupt their other train schedules and causing further delays. The second one is the lack of internet coverage or slow internet. When I first came to Germany, I used to live in Göttingen and I lived with a German family in a house. The internet in the house was really bad. Sometimes I don't have internet for study or work. The internet was so slow. It really sucks when I just came to Germany when I was experiencing homesick and I couldn't call my friends or my family. It's not just in Göttingen but also in Munich. In my previous apartment, sometimes there was an interruption of Wi-Fi or the internet that I didn't get access to internet at all for maybe 2 to 3 days. That interrupted my work a lot. Unlike Hong Kong, Korea, or Japan, those restaurants and cafes in Germany are usually without Wi-Fi, so it's really hard to have access to internet. So make sure that you have a SIM card with internet that you can always rely on. Other than that, the Wi-Fi in train is also bad. There was one time when I took the first class and there wasn't even any Wi-Fi connection at all. I was really shocked because at least there was Wi-Fi for the second class, but there was no Wi-Fi for the first class, which is quite mind-blowing. Because of the little internet coverage in Germany, I tend to use less social media because I can't even post a story on Instagram, so I became less attached to social media. I haven't updated my social media for, I don't know, months and years. I think this is the process of being Germanized. However, in recent years, I realized that there are Wi-Fi in DM and Rossmann. Also in some shopping malls, they have some seats for you to sit down and use internet, which is pretty nice. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's improving. The third one is paying by cash. Unlike other countries or like Sweden, cashless payment is really convenient. However, in Germany, that's not the case. A lot of restaurants and shops still just accept cash. Some would only accept cards when you are spending more than 10 euros. In some restaurants, if you want to pay by card, you have to spend more than 20 euros. But if you go to big supermarkets or DM and Rossmann, you can always pay by credit card or easy card, even if you spend less than 1 euro. Yeah, German people really like cash. It's not about them being conservative, it's also about the tax system. For some restaurants, it's also a good way for them to avoid some tax, so they always prefer customers paying in cash. The fourth thing that I found really mind-blowing is finding a doctor in Germany. Once you have moved to the new city, remember to find a Hausarzt. That means a family doctor or a general practitioner. If you get sick and you start to find them, it's too late. When you're getting sick, you have to make sure that you have a reliable doctor that you can go to. You can make an appointment with them, or you can simply visit them by walking in. Also keep in mind that not every doctor are accepting new patients, so that you have to do your research on Google to see the reviews of that doctor, whether they are competent or they are nice and friendly. It would be nice if you have just the first appointment when you are not sick, so that you can also do some simple checkups, and then you make sure that you are their patient so that you can have an appointment later on when you get really sick. Also for ladies, we have to visit gynecologists regularly. I would recommend you to find a gynecologist near your place and then you make the first appointment as soon as possible, because recently I've just moved back to Munich and I tried to look for any gynecologist nearby. If I were a new patient, I have to get the first termin, like the first appointment for simple checkups, and the queuing time would be 6 months. Yeah, so at the end I went back to the gynecologist I used to have when I was living in another old apartment before, but it's on the other side of the city. As we also pay a lot for health insurance, but when it comes to finding a doctor, it's not always easy because some doctors accept only private insurance. I remember one time I have problem with my eyes. I want to find an eye doctor. However, when I call them, they were super rude, and because I'm not privately insured, and they don't even want to talk to me at all. They just simply cut the line immediately. My friend and I also have some bad experience with certain doctors. For example, some are really incompetent. They didn't take time to diagnose us. They just prescribe antibiotics, which is not a good approach. My friend the other time was coughing a lot and even coughing blood out. Then she visited a doctor and that doctor prescribed her antibiotics, and then she was kind of doubtful about it, and then she visited another doctor and then the other doctor was quite mad at the first doctor. Make sure you find a trustworthy doctor who doesn't just prescribe you antibiotics but really take time and patience to diagnose you. For me, I also had another bad experience when I had asthma 2 years ago and I didn't know what that is. Asthma is a really common problem in Hong Kong. However, I didn't get it in Hong Kong, but when I was in Germany, it was the first time that I got it, maybe because of stress and other issues when I was in Göttingen. But then I couldn't find any doctors who can diagnose that. They all didn't know what that is. And I also tried to book an appointment with dermatologist, but then I have to wait for maybe 2 to 3 months. However, I was already suffering from the itchiness and the redness, and I couldn't hold it any longer. And I was also afraid that it would get worse. And at the end, I went back to Hong Kong to see my doctor, and then he could immediately say this is asthma. And it's really an easy diagnosis, but here they had no idea what that is. I also heard that a lot of nice and competent doctors also went to work in other countries like Denmark, Sweden, or Switzerland, so I shouldn't talk so much about this bad situation. Yeah, good luck in finding a good doctor. For the worst case, you can just go to the emergency room, even though this is not ideal. It's quite depressing when I have no family and then I got sick and I couldn't even find a doctor to diagnose me. For some small issues, unless I want to get the medical certificate for my work because I'm taking sick leave, Otherwise, I'm not going to see a doctor. But it's kind of contradictory because we've paid a lot for health insurance, but we don't really get high quality services. Okay, I shouldn't complain a lot. It also depends on which country you are comparing Germany to. So yeah, I think Germany is not so bad. If I don't have life or death issues, I would just stay home, take a rest, rather than trying to look for a doctor. Okay, the fifth would be food. That's pretty obvious. As I came from a subtropical area, I need warm meals at least 2 times per day. I really can't take Abendbrot or Kartoffelsalat. My body just doesn't work well with lactose or gluten, so I have to be really careful about what I eat. Otherwise, it can affect my sleep and my skin and my health. There's no right or wrong. Our genetics are different and our eating habits are different. There's also one thing you have to keep in mind, that no matter which restaurants you go to, you also expect them to be salty. People said that they make the food very salty in order to get people to order more drinks. I don't know whether this is true, but I think for Germans, they tend to eat more salty food. For me, they are really too salty. I really have to look into the review before I visit a restaurant, because I would be angry if I pay a lot and I don't have nice food. I'm pretty picky about food, so most of the time I will stay at home and cook. And one more important point is about the water. When you go out or you buy water from the supermarket or anywhere, make sure you know whether the water is sparkling water or still water. For some drinks, they don't really put clearly whether they are still water or not. So you have to really check the bottle if they have this ingredient Kohlensäure, that means carbonic acid, so that you can make sure what you get is what you want. When I was a tourist in Germany, there were so many times I didn't pay attention to that, and I got sparkling water, which is something that I didn't want. It says here ohne Kohlensäure, that means without carbonic acid. However, when I turn it around, the label says hydrogen carbonate, and it tastes gaseous as well. Number 6 is the hustle in supermarkets. When it comes to checking out at the cashier, it's always a hustle because you have to line up your items, and then the cashier would scan as quickly as possible. At the same time, you have to make sure that you have already prepared your own bag and you can just do the packing as quickly as possible, because the cashier in Germany don't do small talk or anything unnecessary, so that they really focus on scanning the items. It's very funny, I saw one person suggest 3 tips. The first is to always get a trolley if you're gonna buy a lot, because you can just quickly put the scanned items into the trolley. And the second tip is to put the heavy items first, because if you were to pack the items into the bag, the heavy items should go first. And the third tip is really important. Make sure that you buy some fruits or any products that need to be weighed, then you put them in the middle to make sure the cashier would spend time to weigh them and also enter the item number. This will give you a few more precious seconds when they are being weighed. So now you understand why we hustle a lot when it comes to checking out at the cashier in the supermarkets. Number 7 is the weather. I've made a whole video about winter blues, so if you are interested, you can check out this link. The lack of sunlight makes my sleep really bad. It caused me to wake up in a few hours and I couldn't have like a long, nice, deep sleep. There could be other factors like food, so I try to take supplements and fish oil. Because of the lack of sunlight, my PMS symptoms has become worse. I have severe insomnia before a period. I am still trying to figure out how I can make my life easier. Recently, I also check out the hormones so that I know what nutrients I should get from food and supplements to ease the symptoms. I also rearrange my work according to my cycles. Like today, I feel energetic, so I would take the time to film the videos. I would also do some sports. Because the energetic period is so limited, it's like 2 weeks. And then I would be suffering from my PMS again. So I'm still trying to figure out how I can cope with it better. But at least I don't have strong cramps, so the pain was not that bad. But what's killing me is the insomnia. Seriously, next year I think I would consider traveling in winter so that I can escape the coldness and get myself a bit more sunlight. I think it's so important to my mental health. For singles, I think traveling winter is a smart option because the price is cheaper and we can also get rid of this winter blues. Number 8 is the apartments. I cannot say a lot about other cities because I've just lived in Munich and Göttingen. In Munich, rent is really expensive and apartments are in general smaller than other cities, other towns or small village. And when I was visiting apartments, I realized that in a lot of studios, they only put a sofa in the apartment and they didn't put a bed in a furnished apartment. I actually asked my landlady about it, and she said because it's already very small, if they put a whole bed, it will occupy too much space, making the small apartment even smaller. However, personally, I still prefer a bed to a sofa. Bed is really my essential items to have good sleep. And then she also said, yeah, she can understand because it's better for the backbone. But for a lot of furnished apartments, they still just provide a sofa. It sounds really miserable because I pay rent and I work and I have to sleep on the sofa. Besides the sofa, the other shocking thing is that they put the washing machine in the basement. It's really common in Germany and other European countries, I think. When I look for an apartment, I always make sure that there's a washing machine connection in the apartment so that I don't have to go to the basement for laundry. So I also asked other German people why they would put the washing machine in the basement. They told me that because a lot of German people would be annoyed by the noise made by the washing machine and the neighbors might complain about it. But I think these days people's views are changing, and of course I try to avoid doing laundry on Sundays or in the evenings. By the way, the other thing I find very interesting is German people don't put the laundry rack on the balcony. Some people would get a dryer. For myself, I just do laundry in the apartment. But one very important thing is don't forget to air that, like lüften. Otherwise, the humidity in the room would be too high and mold will show up. Please avoid that. Other than that, German people like having pizza, so they always want an oven in the apartment. But for me, oven is good to have item and I don't really need them much, and I have also my own air fryer. So this is also a very interesting culture difference because of eating habits. For Asians, we cook more. It's also very common to have a ventilator in the kitchen. However, as German people, they mostly eat bread. They don't really cook. So in most of the kitchens, they don't have the ventilator. Other than that, I also find it very interesting that in these German apartments, they always have the big square pillow if it's furnished. However, personally, I really don't like them because it's not quite supported for the neck. Okay, now you might realize that the background is different because I filmed this another day. For the apartments in Germany, I think the soundproof is so bad because even though I used to live in a new apartment in Göttingen, I could still hear my neighbor walking on the floor or having sex. Yeah, it's quite embarrassing, and I still have no idea how we can deal with it because when we are visiting apartments, we are not able to tell whether the soundproof is good or not, but I think most of them are bad. I don't have any solution to this problem. I would just wear earplugs when I go to bed. Even though it's not very comfortable, I don't have a better solution. What about you guys? How do you guys deal with it? Number 9 would be the difficulties to make friends. Germany is actually quite a nice place for introverts. In Germany, we don't have to interact with people a lot because people don't like small talk in general. So it's a really comfortable environment for introverts like me because I'm actually an INFP. I need a lot of me time and a lot of personal space. At the very beginning, it was pretty nice, but then I realized that for extroverts or people who crave for social activities, this might not be the best place. People might feel very lonely here. The tough truth is even though we join some social activities, it's still hard to make friends because German people here, they make their friends from schools, from kindergarten. If we don't have that kind of experience, then it's really hard to find friends. I still remember someone say, you need to go to kindergarten to make friends. Even I did my master's degree here. I used to have a social circle. I used to meet my classmates a lot during my studies and we hanged out. However, when we all graduated, some of us went back to their own countries. Some of us moved to another city for work. So it's quite hard to maintain friendship if the connection is not strong enough. If you start working here in Germany right off the bat, it's even worse because you only meet your colleagues and you don't have a group of people that you meet regularly every week. In order to survive in Germany, we need our own hobbies that we can either do it ourselves or join some activities that we do regularly with other people so that we have this regular meetup. I had a Spanish colleague and he told me he would join some basketball clubs so that they played basketball regularly. That's the best way to meet people. However, for me, I'm an introvert and I'm not so sporty, so I think it's really hard. But recently I joined a golf club, so I play golf regularly. When I went to the driving range to practice, I also meet some people from time to time so that we kind of know each other. But I would say it still takes a lot of time to establish a friendship or or a connection. Other than that, some people might want to go to church if they're religious, or some people would join the choir. At least they have this gathering or practice every week. It's really important to meet each other on regular basis in order to build up the friendship. From my experience, it was easier to make friends in South America or Asia because people are more passionate and they are more open to new friends. But it seems like for German people, they don't need more new friends. Interestingly, I tried to use dating app actually, but then at the end, I met friends more than dates. I don't know how that works, but I actually met some guy friends. With my male friends, we think each other as nice persons, and we don't have romantic feelings for each other or any sparks, so we can build up a pure friendship. And number 10, last but not least, is the naked culture that I'm not used to. When I first came to Germany, I was so shocked to learn that there is mixed sauna where female and male can both go there naked. When I talked to my colleague about that, he said like, hey, you should be confident with your body. And then I'm like, no, it's not about me being not confident enough, but it's like I'm happy with my body and I like my body, but it doesn't mean that I have to show it to everyone. I think we have different mindset. There's no right or wrong. It's just a different culture. So far, I can only go to the female sauna. It really took me some time to get used to it, but now I can go to female sauna and just talk to people like when all of us are naked. It's still not the most comfortable thing that I would do, but I can gradually accept it. But everyone is different. For example, I have a Vietnamese female friend and she couldn't even go to female sauna. She thinks it's really awkward. But I also have another friend from Hong Kong. She is more open to that. So she would go to the mixed sauna with everyone and jump into the lake naked. So she thinks everyone is doing that. It's not that awkward at all. It's even more awkward if you hide your body. Last year, my company organized this winter event. I actually didn't join, but my colleague told me that they went to a sauna together. We actually have international colleagues. We have colleagues from the US, also another girl from the Philippines, also a guy from Afghanistan. It's quite an international group. I heard that my American female colleague would use a towel to wrap herself, and another German female colleague also did the same so that it wouldn't look too awkward. I really don't know whether this is a common practice. So I asked my German friend about it, and he said this is not common at all. He thinks that there should be boundaries between colleagues. Even to a German, he still thinks that this is not normal, as this is super overwhelming for me. I also asked another friend who works in a German company. She asked her colleagues, but they think this is still too intimate for colleagues. So different people hold different opinions and different perspectives. In the past, I would push myself a little bit hard to integrate, but these days I'm taking it easy. If I feel like it, then I do it. If I don't feel comfortable, then I don't do that. I'm taking things step by step according to my own preference. And what about you? Do you have any other struggles in Germany or any other foreign country? I'm super curious to know, so please comment down below if you have any interesting stories to share. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!